The rain had not stopped for 3 days. The muddy ground of the ruined forest trembled every few hours with distant booms. No birds sang. No insects moved. Everything was quiet except for the sounds of broken branches and faraway thunder. Cade, a lone human scout, moved carefully through the thick roots and fallen leaves. His uniform was torn and blood stained his sleeve, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. His team was gone. Only he had made it out alive from the last ambush, and even that had cost him nearly everything. He pressed a hand to his side. The gash there was deep. He had no more medkits, no more energy for his radio. He had to find shelter or bleed out in the open. That's when he saw the entrance to a narrow cave, half hidden behind twisted vines and sharp rocks. It looked like a mouth in the earth, dark and cold. He didn't think twice. He crawled in, dragging his weight like a wounded animal. His vision blurred. As soon as he felt the cave wall against his back, he let himself fall. The world faded into black. When Cade opened his eyes again, it was night. The rain still fell outside, but inside the cave was warm. He blinked, confused. A fire burned at the far end, small but bright. That fire hadn't been there before, and neither had the strange figure crouched beside him. His breath caught in his throat. She was not human. Her skin was a deep shade of midnight blue, almost like the night sky. Her eyes glowed like amber, and 2 sharp horns curled back over her head. Her body was covered in thick, layered armor made of scales and bone, and her hair was tied into long, wet braids. She looked at him without blinking. Cade tried to sit up, but her hand pushed him gently back down. "You shouldn't move," she said in a voice low and soft, with an accent he didn't recognize. "You were close to death." He stared at her, unsure if he was dreaming or hallucinating. "Who are you?" Her head tilted. She didn't answer at first. Then she looked toward the cave entrance. "I am no one important, but I was hunted too, and I saw you fall. I brought you here." Cade tried to speak again, but the pain in his side flared. He winced. The strange alien woman reached into a pouch and pulled out a thick paste, glowing faintly green, and applied it gently to his wound. It burned, but he felt strength return to his body. She worked quietly, carefully, and he didn't stop her. For a while, neither spoke. The only sound was the fire and the storm outside. Finally, Cade asked, "Why did you help me?" Her golden eyes looked into his. She didn't blink. "Because I was alone once too, and someone helped me. Now the dead is mine." He didn't know what to say. There was something fierce about her, something wild but not cruel. He could see the scars on her arms, the tired strength in her posture. She had fought for a long time. She had survived. As the fire burned lower, she leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "There is something you must understand. My kind, they can smell bond. I used my hands, my scent, my blood, to heal you. That means your scent now carries mine." Cade blinked, confused. "What does that mean?" Her eyes narrowed. "It means they will come for you now, as if you were me." Cade's heart pounded in his chest. The cave felt suddenly colder. She wasn't warning him out of fear. She was telling him the truth. And the truth was simple. By saving him, she had cursed him too. Cade stayed quiet, his breath slow, his mind racing. The alien woman sat beside him, still and silent, her eyes watching the shadows as if they might move. The fire crackled between them, soft and steady, but it didn't feel warm anymore. Her words still echoed in his head. "They will come for you now. What are they?" He finally asked, his voice low. She didn't answer right away. Then, still watching the entrance, she said, "Hunters, fleshborn, my own people. They track by scent. When one of us marks another, they see it as possession, territory, protection, or threat." Cade felt a chill crawl down his back. "So they'll come thinking I'm yours?" "Yes," she said. "Or worse, that I'm hiding in you. They'll kill you just to draw me out." He forced himself to sit up a little, even though the pain throbbed through his side. "So what now? Do we wait for them to come?" She looked at him then. "No, we move." Before dawn, he saw her then more clearly. There was blood on her too, not just his. Her right shoulder was torn, her armor cracked. Her breathing was quiet but labored. She had saved him, but she was no less broken. They were both hunted, both barely alive, and now bound by something neither of them fully understood. "Why are they hunting you?" he asked. She looked into the fire for a long time. Her voice, when it came, was tired. "I broke a rule. I showed mercy." Cade waited, but she said nothing more. The silence between them was heavy. He wanted to ask more, but something in her expression said no. Not yet. He leaned back, staring up at the cave's ceiling. He had come on this mission thinking it would be simple. A recon run, monitor enemy movement, report back. He never imagined he'd be lying in a cave, half dead, next to a warrior alien who had saved his life and painted him with her scent like a war flag. She began to pack her things. A knife, a bow with strange carved arrows, small glowing stones she tucked into hidden slots in her armor. He noticed her hands shaking slightly. Her wounds hadn't fully healed either. "You shouldn't be moving so much," he said. "You're injured too." She glanced at him. "Pain is the only thing that reminds me I'm alive." He wanted to argue, but what could he say? She wasn't human. Her rules were different. Her pain was different, and yet, something about her felt so familiar. The way she looked at him. The way she moved with purpose even though she was bleeding. "What's your name?" he asked suddenly. She paused. For a moment he thought she wouldn't tell him. "Niara," she said quietly. "And you?" "Cade," she nodded. "Cade," she repeated, tasting the word like it was strange in her mouth. Suddenly her body went tense. She turned toward the cave entrance, her nostrils flaring. Cade followed her gaze, but he saw nothing. "They're close," she said. He grabbed his knife, the only weapon he had left. Niara moved to the cave's mouth, crouching low, blending into the stone. Her fingers glowed faintly as she pressed one to the wall. A shimmer moved over the rock, and the opening slowly sealed shut with a strange blue layer of dust and light. Cade blinked. "What was that?" "A breath mask," she whispered. "To hide our scent for now, but it will not hold long. When the sun rises, we must run." Cade nodded slowly. He didn't know where they would go or if they would survive, but he did know one thing. He wasn't alone anymore. And if they were coming for him, then they'd have to face both of them now. Cade didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw yellow lights moving in the darkness. He heard whispers, not human, not words, just clicks and growls echoing inside his skull. Niara stayed by the sealed cave entrance, crouched like a shadow, her body still as stone. Only her eyes moved, always watching. The fire had been put out. The scent mask she had made faded slowly as the hours passed. Cade could smell it now, a strange bittersweet dust, something between burned leaves and wet copper. He wondered how something invisible could hide them from hunters who smelled blood across miles. When the first light of dawn touched the stone cracks above, Niara stood. "It's time." Cade stood too, slower. His side still burned, but he was stronger now. Whatever she had used to heal him, it worked. Niara touched the cave wall and the dust vanished. The mouth of the cave opened again like it had never been hidden. Pale morning light spilled in. The jungle outside was thick, wet, and alive again. Birds called. Insects buzzed. But Niara was tense. "They're close?" Cade asked. "They are moving, slowly, but not far. They still think I'm alone." Cade swallowed hard. "What do we do?" "We go where no one dares to follow." She walked first, her movements quick and light. Cade followed, doing his best to match her pace. They left no tracks behind. She moved like she had always lived in this forest, through thick roots, under fallen trees, across shallow rivers with glowing blue algae. Every now and then she would stop, place her hand to the ground and listen. "They're spreading out," she said. "They know I'm nearby." Cade noticed something strange. As they moved deeper into the jungle, the plants began to change. The trees looked older, the colors darker, even the light shifted. He could feel the air thickening, heavy with mist and heat. Strange animal calls echoed from places they couldn't see, and the ground beneath them began to glow faintly in patches. "Where are we?" he asked. "Borderlands." "Marked land." "No tribe claims this place. Too many spirits. Too many dead." Cade glanced at her. "That's where we're going?" Yes, he didn't argue. If it kept them alive, he'd follow her anywhere. But the silence didn't last long. Suddenly, Niara froze. Her body went low, her hand raised. Cade stopped. He couldn't hear anything, no sound, not even wind. She turned her head slowly toward a thick patch of ferns to the left. "They're here," she whispered. Cade gripped his knife. His hands were sweaty, then something moved. Not fast but smooth, like smoke slithering between trees. He saw glowing yellow eyes in the shadows. 1, 2, 3. Niara took a step back. Her face hardened. They sent scouts. Cade saw them now. Thin, tall shapes with long limbs and heads shaped like spears. Their skin shimmered like glass, almost invisible until the light hit it just right. They carried no weapons. They didn't need them. One of them stepped forward. It raised a hand, its fingers stretched wide. Nyara stepped in front of Cade. "Stay behind me," she said. Her voice was sharp now, not soft like before. The creature tilted its head. Then it spoke, but not in words Cade understood. The sound was cold. It made his ears ache. Nyara responded in her language, harsh, deep, filled with clicks and growls. For a moment it felt like they might walk away. Then the scout hissed. Nyara moved like lightning. Her hand went to her belt and a blade of bone and silver slid free. In a single motion she cut across the scout's neck. The other two shrieked and vanished into the trees. Cade stood frozen. Nyara didn't look back. She only said one thing. "They know you're with me now. There's no going back." They kept moving. The jungle grew darker as they entered deeper into the borderlands. Cade tried not to look back, but he kept hearing things. Low growls, branches snapping, the echo of footsteps that didn't belong to them. Nyara didn't speak. She was bleeding again. Her shoulder cracked open where her armor had split. But she didn't slow down. Cade finally grabbed her arm. "Wait, you're hurt. Let me help." She pulled away at first, stubborn. But after a few seconds she sighed and sat on a fallen tree. Her breathing was uneven. "They cut deeper than I thought," she admitted. Cade pulled a torn strip from his shirt and pressed it against her wound. Her skin was warm, almost hot, and under the blue tone he saw bruises. He worked silently, wrapping her shoulder. She watched him the whole time. "You were not trained for this," she said. He smiled slightly. "No, I fix engines, fly shuttles. Sometimes I carry a gun. That's it." She looked at him strangely. "You are soft, but you didn't run." "I wanted to. Still do," he admitted. "But something told me to stay." Nyara said nothing for a long moment. Then she looked toward the glowing moss ahead. "There is a place," she said. "Old ruins. It belonged to my kind long ago before the tribe split. We may rest there. The hunters avoid it." "Because it's cursed?" Cade asked. "Yes, but not for the reason they say." She stood and led the way again. Cade followed, still trying to understand who or what she really was. She looked like a beast from a war file, horned, armored, deadly, but she had saved him. She had risked herself, and now she bled beside him. After an hour of walking, the jungle opened. They stood before a broken stone gate, half sunk into vines and moss. Giant black pillars rose from the earth, each covered in glowing symbols that shifted faintly. It felt cold, but not from air, like something older than time lived here. Nyara walked through the gate without fear. Cade stepped beside her. "This was your people's place?" "No," she said. "This was my family's prison." He stopped walking. "Prison?" She looked at the walls with sad eyes. "Long ago, before I was born, my bloodline broke a law. We tried to change the old ways. Bring peace. End the hunt. We were punished, marked, forgotten. And you still fight to protect others?" He asked. She looked at him. "Not for others. Not anymore. Only those who don't deserve to die for something they never chose." Cade didn't know what to say. He stepped closer to a wall, looking at the strange carvings. Some looked like stars. Others looked like people with wings and fire in their hands. He turned to Nyara. "What happens if we stay here?" "They will search, but they will not enter. This place burns their blood." She collapsed beside a broken column, her energy gone. Cade sat near her, listening to the quiet. He looked at her again. "Why did you help me, Nyara?" "Really?" She turned her head slowly. "Because when I looked at you, bleeding in the mud, I saw someone who was supposed to die, like me. And I hate when the world decides that for us." Her voice cracked, just once. Cade looked at her, and for the first time, he didn't see a monster. He saw someone who had lost everything but still chose to fight. Outside the ruins, a distant horn echoed through the trees. The hunt had begun again. But Cade wasn't afraid anymore. He knew who stood beside him now, and he would not let her stand alone. The ruins were quiet but not peaceful. The wind moved through the broken stone like a whisper from the past. Cade sat near the center of the chamber, watching Nyara sleep. Her back rested against a broken pillar, her head tilted slightly to the side. Even in rest she looked alert, like a wild animal used to waking at the first sound. Cade couldn't sleep. He turned the bone-handled knife she gave him over in his hands. It was lighter than it looked. Sharp, too. He remembered how fast she had moved, how easily she had cut down the scout. He'd seen elite soldiers hesitate more. She wasn't just strong, she had trained her whole life to survive. And now somehow she was bound to him. He looked at the mark on his wrist. It had appeared overnight, a faint glow shaped like two curved lines and a single point between them. Nyara's clan sign, though she hadn't told him that yet. It didn't hurt, but it pulsed gently like it was alive. He heard a sound behind him and turned. Nyara was awake, her golden eyes watching him. "It glows brighter," she said. "What does that mean?" "It means the bond is holding. Can we break it?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not while I live." Cade didn't know how to respond. The idea that his life was now tangled with hers felt strange. He wasn't even sure if they were allies or just victims caught in the same trap. "We need to move soon," she said, standing slowly. The horn was close. "But you said they don't come here." "They don't. Unless a commander arrives." Cade's stomach tightened. "You think they sent one?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. They packed what little they had and slipped back into the forest. Nyara moved slower now. Her wounds hadn't healed. Cade helped her when she stumbled, offering his shoulder. She didn't argue this time. As they walked, she told him more about her people. The clans, the old blood feuds, the laws that couldn't be broken. The hunters weren't just soldiers. They were enforcers of old traditions, brutal, loyal, merciless. And she had broken something sacred by touching a human with her blood. "They don't see me as wounded," she said. "They see me as tainted." Cade looked at her. "And me? You're a symbol now. Proof that I chose something different." They reached a high ridge as the sun began to rise. Below them was a wide valley covered in mist. In the center stood a massive tree, dead black with no leaves but still standing tall. Its bark was scarred with old symbols glowing faintly. Nyara pointed. "That is where the bond must be tested." "Tested? If we don't show strength, the tree will burn us." Cade blinked. "Why are we going there?" "Because if we survive its trial, they cannot kill us under their laws." He looked at the twisted tree. It felt like the air around it was heavy, thick with silence and meaning. "You sure we'll survive?" "No," she said. "But it's the only way to make them stop." They began the descent step by step. Cade didn't know what the trial was. He didn't know how a tree could burn people, or why it mattered to her tribe, but Nyara believed it was the only way. And for the first time since he crashed in this jungle, Cade believed in her. He had no armor, no tribe, no glowing eyes or sharp claws, but he had her beside him, and that, for now, was enough. The closer they got to the tree, the more the forest seemed to fall silent. No birds, no wind. The fog thickened, curling around Cade's boots like cold fingers. Even the insects that had swarmed them earlier had vanished. It felt like walking into a memory, one that didn't want to be remembered. Nyara moved carefully. Her shoulders were tense and her eyes scanned the twisted roots that rose from the cracked ground like bones. "This place is called the Hollow Tree," she said softly. "It was the heart of judgment. Before my people turned to war, they came here to settle truth." "And now?" Cade asked. "Now it waits. For blood. For answer." They reached the base of the tree. It was massive, taller than any tower he had seen back at the outposts. Its bark was black, burned in some ancient fire, and lines of red light pulsed slowly through it like veins. At its center was a hollow opening, wide enough for a person to walk through. Nyara stopped at the edge. "It will test us both." Cade looked at her. "What kind of test?" She placed a hand over his chest, over his heartbeat. "The bond we share is not just flesh, it is will. If either of us breaks under fear or lies, it will know." Cade didn't like the sound of that, but he nodded. They stepped into the hollow. Inside, the world changed. There was no light, but they could still see. The inside of the tree wasn't just empty. It was filled with shadows that moved without sound, like smoke shaped into memories. Cade saw flashes, his team, the battlefield, the moment he was wounded. But something was off. The memories twisted. He was alone again in the mud, bleeding. But this time no one came. "Nyara," he called. No answer. He turned. The shadows thickened. His knife was gone. Then he saw himself, on his knees, begging for life. And the figure standing over him wasn't Nyara. It was one of the hunters, its glassy skin glowing, its long fingers sharp like blades. The vision raised its hand. "You are nothing," it said. "Not warrior, not clan, not blood." Cade stood still. His hands shook. But he took a deep breath. No, he said. I may be nothing to you, but I'm not alone. The vision cracked like glass and vanished. A new scene formed. Nyara was kneeling, surrounded by her own people. They chanted. She cried out as one of them sliced her hand and held it to fire. You chose him, a voice said. You chose death. Nyara looked up in the vision. Her eyes met his. I chose truth, she whispered. Suddenly the light changed. The inside of the tree glowed red. The roots shook. Cade fell to one knee, gasping. It felt like fire filled the air. Like the tree was burning from inside out. Nyara appeared beside him, her body glowing with the same red veins as the bark. She reached for his hand. Say it, she said. Say the bond holds. I don't understand. Say it. He looked into her eyes, no fear. Only truth. I accept the bond, he said. I won't leave you. A burst of light exploded around them. When Cade opened his eyes again, they were outside. The tree stood behind them, still dark but quiet. The fog had cleared. The roots no longer glowed. It was over. Nyara stood tall, her hand still holding his. The tree has accepted us, she said. He looked at her wrist. A second mark had appeared. His clan mark, simple and human, shaped like the wings of a ship. We're linked now, she said. By choice. Not blood, not war, and somewhere far away the hunters would feel it. The trial had spoken. By the time they left the valley of the hollow tree, the air felt different. The sky above was clear. The fog had broken and light touched the tops of the trees again. But Cade and Nyara both knew peace wouldn't last. Something had changed when they passed the tree's trial. The mark on their skin wasn't just glowing. It pulsed with a deep hum as if it had awakened something old. Nyara moved faster now. Her strength was returning, and Cade noticed she walked with a new kind of fire in her steps. She didn't just look like a warrior anymore. She looked like someone with purpose. They will know what we've done, she said. The tree is part of the deep roots. The signal will reach the high clans. That's a good thing, right? Cade asked. Yes. And no. They didn't get far before the sky turned red. Cade looked up. Dozens of shapes passed overhead. Dark-winged crafts, small and fast, scanning the forest with golden beams. Nyara pulled him into the shadows of a rock wall. The ships moved in a pattern, sweeping in wide circles. They've sent a hunter circle, she whispered. That means the commander is already here. Cade felt his chest tighten. They're searching for us? No, they already found us. This is warning. They want us to see the sky fall before they send blades. What do we do? She looked at him. We do what your kind does best. We surprise them. She led him into a narrow passage through cracked stone and ancient trees. Cade had no idea where they were going. The jungle was shifting again, less wild, more twisted. The trees leaned in, covered in veins of light. Strange symbols were carved into stone platforms half buried under moss. This is forbidden ground, Nyara said. Used in the old war. Your people don't know it exists. Why are we here? Because they won't follow us here directly. Too many died the last time they tried. As they passed into a wider clearing, Cade saw it. An old battlefield. Bones lay half sunk in dirt. Rusted weapons were stuck into the earth like forgotten markers. In the center stood the remains of a metal structure, part ship, part temple. Nyara pointed to it. We make our stand there. Cade followed her into the ruins. Inside it smelled like dust and ash. But something else was there too. Old technology. He touched a panel. It flickered to life. This is Terran, he whispered. Human tech, early recon class. How did it get here? Your people weren't the first to crash, Nyara said. He looked at her. You knew about us before? She nodded. One of your kind came here long ago. Helped us, died protecting a child. That child was me. Cade's breath caught. She turned to him. I remember the face. It wasn't so different from yours. Suddenly the floor shook. A deep sound rolled through the trees, no longer warning. This was arrival. They found us, she said. Cade looked at the panel again. If this is still live, I might be able to reroute energy. Set traps, maybe power a defense grid. She watched him for a second, then nodded. Do it. I'll guard the entrance. As Cade worked, his hands flew across the controls. The old system groaned, but lights turned on. Power flowed into old cables buried beneath the ground. Static crackled in the air. It felt like waking up a ghost. Outside, Nyara drew both blades and stood in the archway. When the first shadow moved from the trees, she didn't speak. She attacked. The old ruins lit up with a deep blue glow. Energy lines flickered to life under the stone, forming a circular grid around the structure. Cade's fingers moved fast across the cracked control pad, sweat running down his face. The system was old, but it still worked, barely. He rerouted power from broken panels to defense ports hidden beneath the ground. Outside, Nyara stood tall, blades in both hands, her body still bleeding from her old wounds. But her eyes burned bright as the first hunter stepped from the trees. It wasn't like the scouts they faced before. This one wore armor made of polished bone and dark crystal. Its face was covered with a metal mask shaped like a snarling beast. Behind it came two more, taller, thinner, their hands crackling with energy whips. Nyara didn't wait. She charged. Her first blade struck the nearest enemy's arm. It screamed as the weapon sliced through, sparks flying. But the others didn't hesitate. They moved fast, circling her, striking with sharp blows and fast jabs. Inside the ruins, Cade activated the outer defenses. Pillars rose from the ground, firing bursts of plasma toward the attackers. One blast hit the ground near Nyara and knocked a hunter off its feet. "Watch your aim," she shouted, dodging left. "Sorry," Cade called back, adjusting the settings. Another alarm flashed on the console. More life signs. They were surrounding the ruins. Cade opened a secondary defense field. An energy shield formed around the temple's outer walls. It wouldn't hold forever, but it gave Nyara space to breathe. She darted back inside, blood trailing behind her. "They've sent more than just hunters," she said. "The commander is near." "Then we hold until he comes," Cade said. Nyara gave him a strange look. "You say that like you're not afraid." "I am," he said. "But I'm more afraid of letting you face them alone." A low rumble shook the ground. Trees cracked. Roots pulled back as something massive approached. Cade ran outside to see it. A tall figure, almost twice the height of a normal hunter, stepped into the light. Its armor was red and gold, its mask shaped like a wolf with 6 eyes. Each step it took melted the grass beneath it. Nyara's face went cold. "That's the Blood Commander," she said. "The one who destroyed my family." Cade looked at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "He left the mark on my back. I remember the blade." The commander raised a long spear and pointed it at them. Behind him, dozens of hunters stood in rows, weapons ready. Cade tightened his grip on the bone knife. He wasn't trained for this. He didn't belong here. But something inside him rose up anyway. "We still have the defense grid," he said. "No," Nyara replied. "Not this time." She stepped forward, holding out her hand. Her wrist mark glowed. So did his. A light stretched between them, floating in the air like a ribbon of energy. "What's happening?" Cade asked. "We passed the trial," she said. "Now the bond speaks for itself." The ground shook again, not from the enemy, but from something beneath them. The dead roots of the hollow tree reached toward the ruins like black veins. From the jungle, another sound came. A call. A deep, mournful cry that echoed through the trees. Cade turned. From the mist, shadowy figures appeared. Others like Nyara, horned and marked. Outcasts, warriors. She had not been forgotten. They had been waiting. They came from the mist like ghosts, silent, strong. Their armor was mismatched, some made of scrap, some carved from bones, but their eyes burned with the same golden fire as Nyara's. One by one they stepped into the clearing. Some limped, others carried scars deeper than skin. But they walked with purpose. Cade counted at least 20. All outcasts. Nyara didn't speak. She walked toward them slow and proud. One of the warriors, a tall woman with one horn broken, stepped forward. "We felt the bond," she said. "We saw the tree awaken," Nyara nodded. "You came." We never stopped watching. Another figure approached, a wide-shouldered male with a burned face and hollow eyes. He looked at Cade. "This is the one?" "Yes," Nyara answered. He did not run. Cade stepped closer. "And I won't. I didn't come here to fight your war. But I'll finish it beside her." The warriors made a sound, part growl, part approval. The Blood Commander stood at the ridge above them. He raised his hand. The hunter army behind him shifted, tightening ranks. Nyara turned to her warriors. "Today we stand not as outcasts. We stand as witnesses. The tree has accepted the bond. The clans may deny us, but the roots know the truth." The horn sounded again. The final attack had begun. The outcasts spread into formation. Cade moved to the temple entrance. He linked the energy grid to a pulse cannon buried in the hill. His hands shook as he rewired the ancient tech, but he worked fast. Every second mattered. Nyara stood at the front. The Blood Commander stepped forward alone, dragging his long spear behind him like a judge walking to an execution. "You are broken," he said to Nyara. "You spit on your bloodline. And you fear change," she answered. "That's why you wear that mask. To hide the truth." The commander pointed the spear at Cade. "Remove the human and I will spare your kin." Nyara didn't blink. "No, you would die for him?" "I would live for him." Without warning, the commander charged. Nyara met him head-on. Their weapons clashed with a flash of light and sound. Sparks flew as blade struck spear. The ground shook. The air burned. The outcast roared and joined the battle. Hunters rushed forward, fast and deadly. Cade powered the pulse cannon. It hummed and fired a blast that tore through the hunter lines, sending bodies flying. The old ruins became a war zone. Blades, claws, and fire filled the air. Cade grabbed a fallen plasma rifle and fired into the chaos, protecting the outcasts that guarded his flank. He saw Nyara in the middle of the fight, dancing like fire, moving between enemies with rage and grace. The Blood Commander struck hard, breaking her blade in two. She stumbled, blood on her lips. Cade didn't think. He ran. The commander raised his spear. Cade tackled him from behind. The weapon struck the ground instead of Nyara's chest. The commander threw Cade off with a roar, but Nyara was already up. She grabbed the broken half of her blade and drove it into his side. He gasped. She stepped closer and whispered something. Cade couldn't hear. Then she pulled the blade free. The commander fell. Silence spread across the battlefield. The hunters froze. Nyara raised both halves of her blade, now covered in blood. "No more running," she said. "No more silence." The remaining hunters dropped their weapons. Cade fell to his knees, exhausted. Blood ran down his arm. Nyara knelt beside him, holding him steady. "It's over," he said. She looked at the bodies, at the outcasts surrounding them, breathing heavy, but alive. "No," she whispered. "It's just beginning." The battlefield was still. Smoke rose from broken ground. The bodies of fallen hunters lay scattered among glowing vines and cracked stone. The red sky had faded to gray. The sound of war was gone. Cade sat against the side of the old ruins, his chest rising and falling with deep, uneven breaths. His arm was wounded. His legs ached. But he was alive. And so was she. Nyara knelt nearby, her armor cracked, her hands stained with blood. Her face was calm, but her eyes, those golden eyes, held more than just victory. They held pain and pride. The outcasts stood in a wide circle. Some knelt. Some stared at the horizon. For the first time in many years, they had no enemy to fight. Cade watched Nyara as she rose. She walked toward the fallen Blood Commander, still lying where he had fallen. She didn't speak. She didn't spit or curse him. She just looked down at him for a long, silent moment. Then she turned her back on him. That was enough. One of the elder outcasts stepped forward. "The clans will hear of this," he said. "You killed a commander. You broke the chain." Nyara looked at the others. "Then let them hear. Let them know the bond held. Let them see that strength does not only belong to tradition, it belongs to choice." The warriors nodded. Cade stood slowly. His muscles burned, but he walked beside her. "So, what now?" he asked. She looked at him quietly. "Now we show them a new path." He blinked. "You're going back? To the clans?" "Yes," she said. "Not to beg. Not to fight. To stand. They won't listen to you. They'll listen to both of us." Cade laughed just a little. "I'm not exactly royal material." "You're not," she said. "You're something more dangerous." "You're different." He looked around. The jungle was alive again. Birds returned. The fog was gone. Even the air smelled cleaner. "Will they accept me?" he asked. "Some won't," she said, "but they won't matter." The warriors began gathering supplies. Some helped bury the dead. Others whispered quietly to one another. But something had changed. There was no more fear in their movements. No more hiding. Cade and Nyara walked toward the edge of the battlefield together. She paused beneath the old stone gate where they had once passed in silence. She turned to him. "You could go back," she said. "The human colonies would take you. They'd give you a medal. Let you rest." He shook his head. "Rest doesn't mean anything if I'm not where I'm needed." "And where is that?" He looked into her eyes. "Beside you." She reached up and touched the mark on his wrist. The glow had faded, but the shape remained. Hers on him, his on her. Not magic. Not command. Just choice. You were supposed to die that day in the mud, she said softly. I did, he answered, and someone brought me back. She smiled, not wide, just a small shift in her face. But it meant everything. Together they walked into the jungle, not as hunter and prey, not as savior and rescued, but as two survivors who had chosen one another. Above them, the leaves swayed. Below them, the roots remembered. The hollow tree was quiet again, and somewhere far away a new story had begun, one where humans and beasts, warriors and outcasts no longer had to hide behind old laws. They would write it themselves.